Windsor Castle has long been a top draw for tourists fascinated by the British monarchy. Now one of the most important stopping places on any visit is the dark stone slab in St George's Chapel, simply marked Elizabeth II, 1926 to 2022. It is there she was laid to rest beside her husband, Prince Philip, and her parents. A year on from her death, long queues of visitors from around the world wait to pay their respects to the woman who is known simply as the Queen. Some people kneel before the grave, some say a prayer, some even quietly weep. According to members of the clergy of St George's, Elizabeth's grave has become an extraordinarily popular place of pilgrimage as people pay tribute to her remarkable life of service. Above all, the Queen could be relied upon. She was always there, the epitome of stability. And as her reign was the longest of a monarch in this country's history, she died in her Platinum Jubilee year. You have to be in your late 70s or older to recall a time when she wasn't on the throne. So when it was announced at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, September 8, the Queen had died at Balmoral at the age of 96, it was a shock in all its finality, as even the most expected death can be. Yet there was no surfeit of emotion, no wailing or hysteria. Late Queen Elizabeth honoured on new Australian coin marking country's heritage. Much of the public mood, stirred rather than shaken, was down to one of the major benefits of our constitutional monarchy. There was a clear pattern of official response, set out well before Elizabeth II died. Ancient tradition was followed, from the lying in state, funeral and committal of the Queen, to the rituals of accession and proclamation of the new king. For there is no moment when Britain is without a monarch, no limbo while we await the next. At the very moment Elizabeth II died, Charles III became our king. And while she had been the longest-serving monarch, he had been the longest-serving Prince of Wales. This was a man we all felt we knew already. No stranger took over, no untested individual we barely recognized. How different it all was to the political turmoil of the last years of her reign. Just 2 days before she died, Elizabeth II bade farewell to her 14th Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, and greeted her new one, and her last, Liz Truss. Don't miss Rishi Sunak to meet King Charles at Balmoral as he followed Queen's tradition. News: Harry braces for tough time as has set to make pivotal speech on late Queen. Exclusive, rarest coins ever released during Queen's reign include one showing hated EU. Reveal: Mr. Johnson himself had only lasted 3 years in office, after ousting Theresa May over Brexit. The difference between the Queen and Mr. Johnson was markedly evident during the pandemic. The Prime Minister, we learned later, oversaw a number 10 where lockdown rules were broken. The Queen abided by those rules, even sitting masked and alone during Prince Philip's funeral. She steered the nation with hope, telling us as we despaired of being deprived of friends and family by lockdown, we will meet again. She was, as always, the reassuring presence. That last photo of Queen Elizabeth shaking hands with Ms. Truss gave some indication of her frailty. She had clearly lost weight, and there was a bruise on her hand of the kind caused by a cannula, for intravenous drug treatment. Nevertheless, she did her constitutional duty. Ms. Truss, so prominent in the days after the Queen died, quit after just 50 days as Premier. By the 6th week of his reign, Charles III was welcoming his second leader, Rishi Sunak. One of the most moving moments of those remarkable days last September was when Bishop David Connor, the Dean of Windsor, removed the crown, sceptre and orb from the Queen's coffin during her committal service at St George's Chapel and placed them on the high altar. At last her burden of office was laid down and she could finally rest. That office had been taken on by Charles III, who had been officially recognized as by the grace of God, King, Defender of the Faith during the Accession Council ceremony 2 days after his mother died. The seamless handover from mother to son showed the crown stood for continuity and reliability, whatever dramas went on in Westminster. 2 weeks after Elizabeth died, England played Italy in the Nations League. Television viewers could see during the national anthem that some players remembered to sing God Save the King for the first time, but others were still singing God Save the Queen, the habit of a lifetime. By the next match 3 days later, the whole team sang God Save the King with gusto. Nobody will forget the Platinum Queen, but now a new monarch unites us. I suspect Elizabeth II would be delighted.